Good afternoon, and what is a cool, grey and cloudy day. It is Sunday, the 25th of February, and I'm in the reading up with a nice hot cup of tea and a parcel to continue unboxing. And what I'm going to pull out of here, just get a hold of it, come on, slide it out, there we go, is this Ubersreik Adventures 2 for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition. It is more grim and perilous adventures in the Duchy of Ubersreik. So, more grim and perilous adventures in the Duchy of Ubersreik. Ubersreik is a city in turmoil, riven with divided loyalties. Even those who support the rule of Altdorf know that the current situation cannot last. As rumours of empire-shaking events filter in from Middenheim, Altdorf and beyond, the case for a consolidation of power in Ubersreik grows stronger. In the midst of vying merchants, entitled nobles, callous spies and outright thugs, a small group of adventurers and mercenaries have made a name for themselves. They've been arrested, enlisted, applauded as saviours, reviled as traitors and dismissed as fools. But they can also be ruthless. They may just be able to tip the machinations that will determine the fate of Ubersreik. Ubersreik Adventures 2 contains 5 all-new adventures along with information expanding on the events of the city of Ubersreik, the setting established in the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay starter set, reflecting the developments that your characters may have experienced or caused during the events of the Enemy Within campaign. Also included is a guide to the Duchy of Blackrock, the home to the once mighty Jungfreuds, whom the Emperor so callously stripped of their noble right to rule Ubersreik. Learn more about the family, their allies, enemies, schemes and plots right for players to explore. So that's quite a lot in a relatively slim hardback. So, Ubersreik. Ubersreik is in the south of the Empire. I believe it is close to basically the Brittany analog, the French analog for the setting, and is the subject of the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay starter set, which is a really crackingly good starter set. 5 characters, 4 or 5 characters, and a mini campaign which sets you up to play the adventures in this and the first and third volumes. Now the scenarios in here, they're not so closely tied to the Enemy Within campaign, but its events are going on off stage. Your other player characters might actually be involved in them. So let's have a look inside. We have the map of the Empire in the Old World. There we go, glorious Reichland. And then we have the front cover shorn of its text. Credits page and contents page, okay, so there's only 5 adventures in here. You got 6 in the previous book, so let's have a look at them. So Deadly Dispatch, this adventure, this is a really cracking adventure where you a case of mistaken identity. One of the player characters is basically going to get handed a box, a package. It turns out to be a puzzle box, and you open up on it, basically the events sort of follow through from there, you're dealing with essentially the necromancer and his bodyguard, an Estalian Diestro, or duelists. Basically, the bodyguard is undead, going to raise essentially. The situation is thus. So, for example, the player character is going to get this box. It's not their box. It wasn't intended for them. Goes to the wrong person, and so consequences ensue. Chaos ensues, including an uprising of the undead, including a Grail champion, We've got a map there of Ubersreik and details of Hugo the Antique Knight in the Ubersreik Grail chapel. So kind of it's a little bit kind of in that encounter, you're kind of thinking, the Dale Brown book, and also Indiana Jones, sort of the kind of encounters. But it's a nice little adventure, kind of a bit obvious, I think, sort of like, I would say a bit straightforward rather, but playable. You know, it's not a bad adventure. It's just not a fantastic adventure. Fishrook returned. So this deals with you've got basically a highwayman comes back and plagues the roads around Ubersreik, and you've got some great handouts from an interested young noblewoman, and from a book, because the thing is, this highwayman, the Fishrook, was caught and hung. Hanged a century ago. So your question is this the actual Fishrook returned, a ghost, or someone impersonating the highwayman? And he's kind of like a Dick Turpin figure, kind of flamboyant, flash, that sort of thing. And then, so you get a job offer to go and investigate this highwayman, and it turns out it's kind of obvious who it is, but you've got a list of victims and so on to investigate and look into. And perhaps even an encounter with the Fishrook. There you can see, because the Fishrook basically is it's like a crow. But ultimately, what you've kind of got is a situation where, it turns out that the Fishrook is actually that person. Well, they're guilty of a crime. Well, how do we prosecute that person, and or bring them to justice? And that's where the scenario kind of gets interesting. I said it's. So, and then we move on to Double Trouble. And this is an adventure in which the player characters are hired by a young poet, and he wants to hear all about adventures so he can turn that into verse. But it actually turns out he's kind of worried about two things. First off, the odd behaviour of his mother, and the sudden disappearance of staff on his family estate. And it all takes place at the family estate, and he wants the player characters to investigate the odd behaviour and the disappearances. And the staff are going, well, who are these? What's this riffraff that the young master has let into the house? So you've got what is essentially a country house murder mystery on their hands. There we go. Then we've got there's the young poet, there's his mother, and other members of the staff, and we've got further forward. Nice little map of the Karstad estate, and so on, and just general details of what's going on. But it's a really it kind of plays with all that country house murder mystery, Agatha Christie kind of style storytelling, even right down to, you've got this fantastic header for the third part of the scenario, which is, I suppose you're wondering why I gathered you here today, which is sort of like the scene where the player characters are expected to explain who did the murders, why, and convince everyone to the fact. Really nicely playing with the genre. Then we've got the blessings that drew blood. This is the fourth adventure, and we've got a triumphant of disappointing demonhood running around in different forms. And this one is sort of like, if if Double Trouble is a whodunit in a classic murder mystery style, this one, The Blessings That Drew Blood, is a police procedural after a serial killer, again set in Ubersreik. This is not a collection of scenarios that really takes the player characters far away from Ubersreik. Some of the others did. You've got some great handouts for the players to look into, and some fun NPCs. There are some good NPCs throughout this book. Okay, you've got like a priestess of, or initiate of Moor there. You've got a warrior priestess Sigmar to interview rather than interrogate, and more. You've got him that you see the NPC earlier. That's basically an agitator, and you've got one of the demons there watching, and so on. So back and forth on what's going on, and a big list of clues. So, for example, let's have a look. So there's the agitator. You've got the stats for him, and you've got this big section of clues which are sort of like questions that the player characters can put to him. So it's really nicely organised that way. So that's Blessings That Drew Blood. Another NPC. And then we've got the Grey Mountain Gold. And this is a bit different as well. Able-bodied folk of adventurous spirit report to Friedrich Muller by the Exploding Pig at once for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Gold, fame, gold, don't delay. Okay, and then you've got the word there, grifters. So this is a con job. And the great thing about having a con job is that this one isn't. I think this is a case of nicely done. Is that it's targeting an NPC, and the NPC hires the player characters to get involved in what the whole con job is about. But the player characters come to realise that the whole thing is a con, whilst he doesn't. And so it's really nice to see a charlatan, one of those key roles in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, actually in action, attempting to run a con. Because your player characters, they can roll up and be a charlatan. It's quite one of it's one of the careers available. But to see it run against in action is really good. And you've got a really nice shot of Ubersreik, including the dwarven bridge that it's famous for there. I mean, I think it's a repeated piece of artwork, but no matter, it's good to see. So you've got one of the other NPCs there facing off against the player characters. And then we come to the first appendix. This is a guide to Blackrock, which is the adjacent duchy to Ubersreik, and it's where the Jungfreud family have all, rushed off to hide and recover from being essentially stripped of their right to govern or rule Ubersreik. So you've got a Blackrock visitor's guide. You've got a map of the duchy, list of rumours, lots of hooks, as you can see, so scenario hooks marked by a fishhook, and asides and things like that. So lots of lovely detail in there and ideas you can pick up and develop into adventures. A guide to different locations in the duchy and NPCs. Got a list because it's a mining duchy known for its ore and its coal, and you've got a list of mining slang there when you run into a miner, and that's really good for it. If you've got a character who's also a miner, and we've got Abyss Matilde, Tomb Banshee. Basically, you've got a haunt going. You can see you're going to have like a haunted abbey as well, and then Norfolgong Castle, which is going to be the seat of the Jungfreud family. There we are. There's the family in glorious colour, and then in black and white, one by one. Full stats for them. And then you've got a list of schemes and plots at the end, which the players can get involved in. The game master can develop for her campaign. And then lastly, we have Ubersreik and the Enemy Within. Now, I said that this isn't tied into the Enemy Within. It doesn't have links on how to link it to the Enemy Within. But this section goes through the different parts of the Enemy Within campaign and says, what are you hearing about it in Ubersreik? You know, there are events going off in Bogenhafen, which isn't that far away down the river. And that happens in Enemy in the Shadows, basically the first part of the Enemy Within campaign. So news and events will filter back down to Ubersreik, and the player characters, if they're not involved, if they've got nothing to do with it, they'll hear about it. So you could actually, you know, you could have the situation where you're playing and running Warhammer twice. So you're playing it with, you know, Ubersreik adventures going on there, and then you're playing the campaign for Enemy Within. So your adventures you can hear about. You know what's going on in the campaign because you're right there. But the fallout you may not be necessarily aware of. But you might be playing a different campaign in Ubersreik, and it filters back down to you. You know, so you'll hear news and so on, and that's done for five parts of the campaign. And then, of course, you've got the index at the end, and so on. And the maps and handouts, nicely done. And those are nice. Again, they're a bit small in the book elsewhere, but that's presented in fuller format is a really good touch. There we go. So that's Ubersreik Adventures 2, published by Cubicle 7 for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Thoroughly enjoyed. It looks to be a great book. I'll have a link down to the review down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. If you enjoyed this, excuse me, then please do click on the subscribe button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be able to get more unboxings in the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a package containing a book or game, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice cup of tea, then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. I will be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.